Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something that's moving at, well, lightning speed, really, and impacting every corner of business. The rapid adoption of artificial intelligence.
Yes, it's everywhere.
Exactly. We've been having some really thought-provoking discussions internally about this, and we want to bring you right into the heart of that, exploring the crucial questions we think everyone should be asking.
It really does feel like we're standing at a crossroads, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The promise of AI for, innovation and growth is immense.
It's got such
Absolutely.
potential.
But it's definitely balanced by a pretty significant need for careful thought, consideration in how we actually roll it out.
Absolutely. Something that really popped out from our internal blogs, an analogy that stuck with me, was thinking of AI as an untested drug entering the bloodstream of our companies.
That's a strong image.
It is, but it immediately gets to the core of what we're discussing today, right? We're going to dive into why a measured, strategic approach to AI, almost like conducting thorough trials, you could say, is just so essential right now.
Especially if you want to sidestep what some are calling the fast pill fallacy, this idea that the quickest AI solution is automatically the best one.
That untested drug idea, it really hits home. I mean, imagine a scenario, right? There's a new experimental cancer treatment being talked about,
Okay.
and suddenly everyone starts using it just because their competitors are, like with no real data on whether it works or what the side effects might be.
That sounds terrifyingly risky.
It would be incredibly risky. Yet, we're kind of seeing a similar dynamic play out with AI in the business world. Companies are eagerly adopting these powerful technologies, often without the kind of rigorous evaluation we'd expect in other critical areas.
And that's a key point, isn't it? There isn't some central authority, an AI FDA, if you will,
Right, no equivalent.
making sure these tools are safe and effective for widespread business use. We're seeing AI being put into really sensitive areas. Think about hiring processes,
Oh, yeah.
how employee performance is assessed, even trying to understand customer sentiment.
High-stakes stuff. Totally. And often without that same level of validation we'd absolutely demand for, say, financial regulations or product safety, it really makes you stop and think about the potential implications of just deploying this stuff so fast everywhere.
It does.
For you listening, if you're trying to cut through all the AI noise and just grasp the fundamental issues before maybe your own organization jumps in, this is exactly what we're trying to unpack.
And what's fascinating when you look at this rush to adopt
Yeah.
is how it connects to the core engine of capitalism.
Right.
We have to acknowledge capitalism is a powerful driver. Progress, innovation.
Yeah.
It encourages finding better ways, which is a huge part of why we're even talking about AI today.
Absolutely. But even the most powerful engine needs the right kind of fuel, doesn't it? To run smoothly, efficiently for the long haul.
Good point.
And this is where questions pop up around things like agentic AI, these AI systems that can supposedly act more independently. Often, the hype, the marketing around these capabilities seems to be moving way faster than our solid understanding and rigorous testing of them.
The hype cycle is real.
So we have to ask, are we sure we're feeding this economic engine the right stuff for sustained success? If you really want that deep understanding, it's vital to look past the initial buzzwords.
This actually brings to mind a really insightful comparison that came up in some of our internal thinking. The way we develop new pharmaceuticals.
Ah, okay. The pharma parallel.
Exactly. Think about the incredibly detailed, cautious journey a new drug takes. Starts with tons of lab research, then preclinical trials.
Right.
Followed by multiple phases of human trials, phase 1, 2, 3, each getting stricter.
More and more scrutiny.
Then finally, there's this thorough review by regulatory bodies like the FDA, looking at every single piece of data before it can be widely available. And even then, there's often post-market surveillance, watching for long-term effects.
It's painstaking, very deliberate, and for obvious reasons, right? Human health is complex. Introducing something new can have huge, unforeseen consequences.
Not just for people, but for public trust, too.
We get why that caution is needed there.
Exactly. And the really thought-provoking question that follows is, why isn't there a comparable level of rigorous evaluation, of independent oversight for AI as it's being woven into major corporations?
Yeah, where's the equivalent?
We're seeing it influence crucial business functions, yet the level of testing, of external validation, it often just doesn't measure up. It really pushes us to ask, why the big difference in approach when both involve complex systems with potentially massive impacts, Hopefully that gives you, the listener, a moment of pause.
It absolutely does, and it leads straight to a fundamental corporate question.
Mhm.
Is the main goal just boosting productivity super fast with AI, or should we be aiming for something more sustainable, a more holistic kind of growth? Here, internally, a core belief revolves around empowering what we call worker ones, people who bring not just skills, but empathy, adaptability, those crucial human
A
elements.
human factor.
The concern sometimes is that AI is being deployed less as a tool to augment these human capabilities and more, well, frankly, like a kind of cattle prod just to drive up performance metrics.
Yeah, focusing purely on the numbers.
If you tie this into the bigger vision, building resilient, human-centric organizations, it's really about the kind of workplaces we want, isn't it?
Absolutely.
We've seen examples highlighted internally, companies getting so fixated on AI-generated performance dashboards, they risk losing sight of the people factors that actually drive long-term success.
There's a real danger there. Leaders might start leaning too heavily on these sort of opaque AI models for tough ethical calls.
Models they might not even fully understand.
Exactly. And in doing that, they could inadvertently undermine their own core values, all in the name of this artificial efficiency.
Which really underlines why getting a balanced, informed perspective is so important for you listening to this.
Mhm.
And that brings us to the very real dangers of skipping this essential trial phase with AI. It's not just about, biases accidentally creeping into algorithms or the risk of simple errors.
Although those are serious too.
Oh, definitely. But it's also about the potential damage to the absolute fundamentals that make any organization actually work well.
And what's particularly insightful from some of the thinking we've seen is how unchecked AI implementation can erode something as basic, as vital as trust.
Yes, yeah.
When employees feel like critical decisions about their careers are being made by automated systems they don't get, it can seriously undermine their trust in leadership. It's corrosive.
And it hits the culture too, right?
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
And over-the-top focus on AI-driven KPIs
Yeah.
can unintentionally weaken collaboration, that empathy between colleagues, even informal mentorship, all those human bits that often spark real innovation and build strong teams.
And, ultimately, even the smartest AI can't make up for a workforce that's disengaged or a culture where the core values have been sort of chipped away.
No amount of tech fixes that.
There's this compelling analogy that came up. If capitalism's progress is like a relay race,
Okay.
then AI isn't the star runner, it's the baton.
Ah, interesting.
And if we handle that baton carelessly, if we deploy AI without really understanding its impact on our people, our culture, the whole team, the entire organization risks stumbling, maybe even falling. It's a powerful image to keep in mind.
It really is. And this is precisely why our company puts such a strong emphasis on developing AI in a way that genuinely serves humanity,
Yeah.
that amplifies human potential.
Right.
Our main goal isn't just maximizing output numbers, it's about building platforms, ecosystems that empower individuals to become more self-aware and enable companies to achieve truly resilient growth, long-term growth.
So providing tools for learning, reflection, personal development, not just productivity trackers.
Exactly. Supporting the whole person, the whole organization.
Okay, so how do we move forward responsibly then? It's clearly not about stopping innovation, right? Nobody wants that.
No, definitely not. It's more about what's been described internally as advocating for a regulation of the rhythm, not stopping the dance.
Regulating the rhythm? I like that.
Yeah. We need to make sure our ethical thinking, our understanding of the human impact, keeps pace with how fast the AI tech is advancing.
So what does that look like practically?
Well, it raises crucial questions about concrete steps.
Hmm.
We're talking about the need for things like maybe setting up internal ethics review boards specifically for AI deployments,
Okay, internal checks?
developing industry-wide best practices or standards for finding and mitigating bias in these systems. That's huge.
Collaboration across companies.
And even creating metrics, ways to actually measure and build trust in AI-driven processes within our organizations. How do we know if people trust the system?
That's a tough one, but important. Ultimately, it brings us back to that fundamental question, doesn't it?
It does.
Should we be carefully testing AI within our own company cultures, really understanding its broader effects on our people, our values, before we fully weave it into our core operations?
Just like we'd insist on rigorous testing before adopting a new drug wholesale.
Exactly that parallel again.
And revisiting that initial analogy, AI as the untested drug, It really does highlight the potential long-term consequences.
Mm,
If we just keep injecting AI into the heart of our businesses without those thoughtful trials, without taking time for reflection and measured implementation, yeah, we might see some short-term efficiency gains.
could look good on paper for a bit.
But it could very well come at the expense of our long-term purpose, our overall sustainability as organizations.
Precisely. Capitalism at its best should be about building enduring value, right?
That's the goal.
We just need to be careful that in our excitement to grab onto AI's potential, we don't accidentally turn it into something that weakens the very foundations we're trying to build on.
Well said.
So for you, the listener, perhaps the key takeaway to really mull over is this. What are the essential trials, the real tests that businesses should be running before they fully embrace AI?
What does that look like in your context?
And crucially, what are the potential long-term consequences if we skip those steps? It's really about finding that critical balance between the undeniable power of innovation and the vital need for responsible, human-centered implementation in your own work within your own organization.
Definitely food for thought.
And if you want to explore these ideas further, we've put some links in the description.